understand their world, their demands, their priorities, their pressures, their threats, their fears, and understand their goals and their dreams and where they want to be in the next 5 years. So just understand them.
Kia ora team, Richard Liew here, editor at nzentrepreneur.co.nz, and today on the Knowledge Base, joining us from Wellington, I've got Mary Crampton. Mary is the owner and principal consultant at Magnify Consulting. Mary, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Great to be on the recording and the show with you.
Cool. Now, for those who haven't heard of Magnify, who do you help, and what do you help them with?
Well, Magnify is a sales and business development agency. So we're on the sales end of the sales and marketing continuum. And we help small and medium businesses with B2B sales, and the sectors we do a lot of work in are technology, IT, engineering, professional services. We help people with expensive, invisible stuff unblock their sales pipeline. That's basically what we do.
Right.
And mostly we do that through helping them grow a healthy sales pipeline. So that's a key problem we help them solve. And our outsourced sales model really helps with that, as well as a lot of the strategy stuff we do. We help them get set up for sales success with systems, processes, CRM, etc. And the other thing we do is actually help them get the most ROI from events and expos that they want to attend as part of their plan.
Right, cool. So there's quite a bit of stuff there. And you know, one thing we know is every business is in the business of selling. Where did you get your sales experience from to be able to draw on to now deliver that for other businesses?
Well, actually, I started sales, I think it was about 1992 or 1993. I need to go and check that one. So that's last century. And my first sales job was doing telemarketing for Pacific Privileges, which was a hotel membership card, Pacific Privilege. Basically, I had a lot of different sort of roles where I was working with people that were either close to being in financial difficulty, or in one case, a rep had left and other people had been made redundant. And so there was an unrealistic workload and a big target to hit. So I've had this history of working in businesses where we're selling services, we're selling expensive, invisible stuff, and they don't have many resources. And so in some ways, Magnify has come out of that. Yeah.
So right from telesales,
yes,
to face-to-face, B2B. What are some of the other industries you've sort of personally?
Well, yeah, removals industry. I've sold quite expensive bespoke furniture in a retail store. That was the closest to a product, but then in some ways, bespoke furniture is invisible till you actually see your bright pink couch, etc. And yeah, so advertising space, that sort of thing. And then with Magnify, and also with another previous job, got into selling in the IT space. And then, you know, that's where a lot of the opportunities are now, isn't it? So with Magnify, it means we've done lots of good projects with more services businesses in those sorts of key areas.
Cool. Now, I often get asked what's the number one skill or qualification I recommend for people getting into business for the first time, and I always tell them sales. Learn how to sell.
Yeah.
Would you agree or not, or is there something more important in your opinion?
Well, you've got to have product market fit. I think that's really important. But even if you have product market fit, if you can't sell, nothing's going to go anywhere. So you can have an excellent product or service, but if you can't sell, it will be a complete failure as a business because no cash will come in. And on the other hand, you can have an average product or service, but have the ability to talk to people and understand their needs and sell. And then what that means is you suddenly are able to create opportunities and bring cash flow in and grow your business. So I would actually agree that sales is the most important skill. It doesn't mean that it's more important than anything else, but somebody's got to be able to sell. And obviously, if you have a really bad product or service and you sell, you won't be in business long anyway. So you've got to have quality there. You've got to have product market fit, but you've also got to be able to bring those sales in too.
That's a good point. And for so many people starting a business for the first time, it's just them, the founder. Maybe
Yeah.
they've got a co-founder or two, but as you
Yeah.
say, someone has to own that. And I think there's many people who get into business and they think to themselves, "Man, I'm not a salesperson at all. That's the last thing I want to be doing. Talking to a bunch of strangers, trying to get money out of them."
Mm.
And there's sometimes this belief, I think, that you're either born as a natural salesperson or you're not.
Mm.
What do you say to that?
Um, well, I think that you're certainly born with abilities and talents and predispositions towards certain areas. So you could compare being in sales to being an athlete. We can all train, we could all run a marathon. If we were asked to run 2 marathons back to back, about the top 5 to 10% of people would do that and probably do that successfully. And that's where passion and natural talent will actually push you through. But we could all run a marathon if we did the training and if we got up at 5 o'clock every morning, went for a run for an hour and a half, etc., and ate right and all the rest of it. But then the question is, will I enjoy running that marathon? So anybody could learn to sell, just like anybody could learn to do any of the other skills, etc., that we value. But if I don't enjoy it, I'm probably not going to do it well. Maybe I'm not going to do it efficiently. Maybe I'm not going to spot opportunities because my brain's not really wired that way. And so I might just be average, but I could still do it. And so everybody can learn to sell. And the really good news is sales is going so badly in some organizations that you can probably get by really successfully with being average. So you don't have to be a top salesperson, but you do have to learn to sell. Everyone can enjoy selling, well, can learn to sell, but I'm not sure if everyone will actually enjoy selling. Like I wake up every morning, I'm really excited to work for clients at Magnify and to see what myself and the other team member can do, etc. But not everybody's wired like that, which is, I guess, where we come in.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good point because there's so many things we need to do as business owners,
Mm,
and when you go through them and you say, which of these things on my massive list of things to do am I looking forward to doing?
mm. Yes.
So many of them, so many of them are in the not really basket,
Yeah.
and because we don't enjoy doing them, often they get pushed to the bottom of the pile, and we procrastinate, and it just doesn't get done. And look, if selling is your thing that you don't really enjoy doing, or you've got a whole bunch of fears about, it's probably not going to be very good for your business, is it? No, it's
No,
probably not going to last
no.
that long.
No, it might not. And then the other side of the coin too, Richard, is even if you've got natural talent at something, whether it's being an athlete or whether it's a predisposition or a talent to understanding people's needs and helping them to reach a buying decision or selling to them, even if you're good at that, you've actually still got to do some work and do training. So if I did no training since 1992, I wouldn't have been able to form Magnify and get people to work with Magnify and get clients to work with Magnify. You've got to do training. You've got to keep up with the tools as they develop in your industry space. And sometimes I think some people don't value sales because there isn't really a big professional qualification for it. And it seems like you're just talking and having conversations, but there's a real skill to that. And we're noticing a lack of that skill now that the digital age has come and too many people have got their heads in a smartphone and they've forgotten how to relate. And if you can do that skill and keep up some training, I think that you'll do well as sales develops.
Hmm. Cool. Okay, so to that point then, let's say I'm the founder of a new business and I've got a cool product, which I believe I've found product market fit for, but
Yeah.
I've never sold anything before and I'm maybe nervous about it or just hesitant or, what do I do? So, it can be sort of an overwhelming sort of realization. So what would you advise this supposed new business owner to focus on? Like, what is within their capability, or, you know, like how do they even get started on the whole sales thing for their business?
I think there's three things you can do. So the first one is understanding your client or your potential client if you haven't sold anything yet. So, and that could start with you having 5 coffees, 5 conversations with a really well-defined ideal client, the right kind of age, the right demographic, in the right location, in the right industry, with the right job title, and really understand that person. So understand their world, their demands, their priorities, their pressures, their threats, their fears, and understand their goals and their dreams and where they want to be in the next 5 years. So just understand them. And if you don't understand them, just go and have 5 coffees and ask them what they want and what's standing in the way. And then the second thing is to listen. So understand that person, really listen to them when they're speaking, to hear where the gaps are or where they want to do something, etc. And then the third thing I think with selling is always close the loop. So that means always propose the next step or get them to suggest the next step and agree on it and then make it happen. So you could be on a phone call, you're understanding a lot about what that person's priorities are, you're listening, you're asking good questions, a lot of information's come down. But if you don't get off that phone call knowing what the next step is and documenting it and then doing whatever it takes to have that next step happen, then that sale can't progress. So, for instance, if we were on a sales call, I would want to understand what you're looking for. I'd want to listen to what you say to see if I'm missing anything, to clarify, etc. And then I'd probably say something like, so Richard, what do you see as a good next step? And then listen while you propose that, what that might be. And then if it's another Zoom call at 2 o'clock on Wednesday next week, we agree that I'm going to send the invite out, I send it out. So I immediately take action and close that loop so that we can keep progressing our conversations, and maybe you'll buy something.
So often, you know, in my experience anyway, when you're not experienced in the sales process, you know, we have a great discussion or a conversation. I've sort of, you know, given you my pitch based on what I've heard you telling me you're looking for. And then we somehow end up in a situation where the prospect or the potential client says, great, cool, thanks for that. We'll get back to you. Or, and the whole sort of sales thing just goes into like this abyss where the salesperson or the business owner is sort of like, well, I'm not sure what's happening next. And I think that's something to do with exactly what you were talking about there, closing the loop. Yeah. What can we do when we are talking to someone, you know, and they're seemingly interested in what we have to offer? How can we, you know, prevent, or what's a good way of progressing it and stopping that sale from falling into, we'll get back to you?
I think people say that they'll get back to you because they either don't have budget, but they're too embarrassed to tell you, or it's not a high enough priority. And if it's not a high enough priority, I think sometimes you haven't helped them to identify why it should be a higher priority, or maybe there's something else going on that's standing in the way. And that's where understanding them comes on. So, for instance, we're approaching the end of financial year for a lot of the government sector. If I was trying to sell into government right now, because of some of the changes with budgets, some of them might be hesitant. And so it's just understanding about your timing. And also sometimes they don't think there's anything else to learn. Maybe we haven't communicated enough of value to them. The other side of the coin too is, if that's not our ideal client and they really don't think they're interested, then the best thing we can do is actually qualify them out. So not everybody is going to progress through into buying something from us, and we all know that that's true. And if your conversation where you're understanding what that person probably wants, and then you hear something that makes you realize actually they're not in the market to buy it for another 2 years because of X, Y, Z, then they probably will say, we'll get back to you. Even if they said that and they didn't want to talk further, if I really genuinely believed they were an ideal client for what I'm selling, I would actually still be putting a task in my CRM, probably sending them some helpful information, maybe in 4 or 5 months, maybe give them another call in 6 or 8 months and see how they're doing, because circumstances can change. They might leave their role. Who knows what changes. And if you continue to maintain that contact, even if it's not them, it might be someone else that says yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we could talk about this for hours. I know that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like us to continue the conversation. We can't. But look, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time and sharing those insights. And look forward to our next chat.
Oh, thanks, Richard.